Where the...
Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's me, Alex the G, again. Somehow. And here we are for another video, and this one is a pretty big one for me. It is NLR eSports League. It's actually quite a while ago. I've only been in NLR, honestly, for a week at that point. And I got thrown straight into Baku because that's one of my favorite tracks, basically. It is round 3 of the eSports Championship, and I could not tell you anything about the standings, if I'm completely honest, but yeah, Azerbaijan, a very good track for me, I will be honest here. It's a great track for myself, and we'll be driving alongside my teammate Dylan today in the Aston Martin cars. That is the one we have picked for the championship, and yeah, we're looking to take home some solid points here. I'm basically a reserve at this point, because while I have good pace and good confidence in Baku, I'm not sure how I would stack up against, you know, this big competition. It's only my second race actually for NLR anyway, and so yeah, it's a bit of a curveball for sure to throw me in. Now in Q1, so this is a full qualifying format. We've gone out around the middle of the session. 10 minutes to go, you can see on the clock, and concluding my first lap of this session, currently 19th, so slowest technically, but it's down to my starting number really. Number 71 is always among the higher starting numbers. So yeah, to the finish of this first lap, it's, I think the fastest lap that's been set at this point is a 1 minute 38 point something, I think a middle. But however, our first lap is a 39.4, and I was quite surprised that I was over a second shy of P1. I don't even know who is first at this point, but it is a deep 138 for him.
I just do the first
so yeah, over a second off for me. It's only 13th place right now, so I needed to go out again, which I did. 139.4 definitely does put me on the cusp of being eliminated in Q1, and so you will join me 1 minute 15 to go on this second flying lap of qualifying 1. Turn 1, I didn't get it to perfection really. You really shouldn't be clipping that curve on the outside, but on the exit of 2, I'm not sure what that was, to be honest. It's looking so slow on Apex, but it's around equal with my personal best right now. There's a lot of these 90-degree corners in Baku really. The first 4-5 corners are all this type of corners. However, after turn 3, we are currently about 400s up, losing some time here, but then gaining all back on the exit, and you can see we've got actually a pretty good amount of time out of that, around a 1/10 of a second up. Slight lockup though, but that should be alright. Now on the exit we felt the effects of that lockup, so we're around only half a 1/10 up now. Cutting this apex as much as possible. You could probably do it a little bit more, but that's alright, to be honest. Now through the castle section, didn't get it too well the first time, but the second time, look how deep I went to that last part, and we are going to be down on our lap. So that puts us really at risk here to be eliminated in Q1. You can see it's only 14th place right now for us, with Ibani at last behind. And yeah, we are still down, heading into that last sector split, about 700ths of a second. The delta displays around, 67 thousandths of a second down. Now we get a pretty solid final corner, but even still, it is not a great lap for myself. Only around 800ths of a second that we have gained in this lap. And let's see where that is going to put us at the end of qualifying 1. Is that going to be enough to put us through into the second part of quali? The lap time is going to be a 139.307. Puts us 13th, and on the results you can see now, it is just enough, position-wise that is, to put us through into Q2 as 15th fastest. Last behind was half a second behind, but even still, 1 place away from elimination in Q1.
Exit out of the last corner that I had.
But yeah, now into Q2, you can see it's the start of the session, so of course I'm going to be put down into 14th. Hoan's left the session for ADRT. They had struggles all round because they joined in the middle of qualifying. But yeah, because I had to do 2 runs in Q1, I had to do the first run on a used set of tires.
Thanks.
And yeah, Excel Dylan there on the pit exit lets me go, which is obviously to be expected in such a big event. So around the first 2 corners felt solid, but of course the lap was never going to be anything special with the tire wear that we had on these softs. Full tire pressures here actually, because it just worked. I don't know. I would usually struggle with tire temperatures, but on this track it was honestly no problem whatsoever. So through the first sector split, it's a 34.8, which I saw much faster by other drivers. I think I saw a 34.3, which is like at the end of Q1, I believe. so I was losing a lot of time in that first sector. That turn wasn't too ideal in my eyes. Yeah, through the castle section, we actually got a pretty solid run in the first part. We actually hit that curb as well. And now here, we've got the apex down much better. And so this lap looks to be a pretty solid one, even with the tyre we're on. Now onto this corner, which I like to call Death Corner because it simply is just death. Meaning that I just completely avoid the curb, to be honest. People would usually maybe jump across that curve, but I just never could. I could never really get it down. Before our Sparks goes fastest, who's actually a part of NLR now, but it's a 138.9 by RT Seep, which is currently the fastest lap on medium tires. Of course, you have to point that one out. But now at the end of our lap,
that lap actually felt pretty good.
You can actually hear by my voice. I actually felt pretty solid about that lap, and I was somewhat confirmed because on the used set of tires we do another 139.3.
Okay then.
Which, well, it was slowest, but
mediums,
we knew that there was some time left in the lap, which is very good, to be honest, for me. But now you'll see what happens on the second lap, which is 1 minute to go. We're currently actually in 10th on that used set of tires. But yeah, into turn 1. It felt pretty solid, going wide as possible on the exit, but here we invalidate our lap straight away. And yeah, that is us. As you can see,
that's it for me.
Someone goes and improves, and that is us out of qualifying already, meaning that we will start the race in 13th on the grid. Yeah, that was more possible there for sure. 15th though for my teammate Dylan, which definitely could have gone better overall for NLR. But yeah, strategy-wise, it was medium tires for the start, of course. And there was supposed to be rain at the end of the race, so it's pretty much just mediums and see how it goes. As we now head on to the 5 red lights to start off round 3 of NLR eSports League. It is lights out and away we go. The 2 ADRT cars, yeah, glitched cars. They weren't even in the session at this point, but you can see there the braking again are completely wrong, almost run into the back of the Haas and just nearly avoid the wall. But that lost us a couple of places as a result. We're down in 17th, which is effectively 15th because the 2 ADRT cars being glitched out. But of course that is not the start I wanted to this race. It's only 17th place at the moment, only ahead of Lars and Jendrik. I would actually be able to tell you who's last right now, but I don't think that's too relevant at this point. So we'll have to see what happens with our race here now in 17th. Dylan ahead, he's obviously jumped us as well. I wouldn't be able to tell you who was the other one. It might be Jackson, although I'm not sure if he actually got eliminated in Q1.
Alex the G start to have.
Yeah, that was a interesting quote, definitely for me. Such an Alex the G start. That was alluding to me usually not having the best of starts, but that one just honestly took the cake for me. Definitely not the ideal start. Through the castle for the first time. Very careful on those curbs. These can catch you out so easily, as I have actually felt multiple times. I had a race in F1 Total in Season 7 here, which was my last race before another League Racing break, because at this point I would have come back from the first break. It was my third race back maybe, and yeah, after that Total race I decided to take another break because I had to. I crashed in the castle twice, which was simply just not on for me, and I just wasn't feeling it at all. We are back to this race through the last kink, and you can see there is a yellow flag. It's big damage then. IRT Rex has had an accident, but it's still carrying on at least. So we're up 1 place in 16th. Still not where I want to be, of course, but yeah, with wing damage, that is Rex pretty much out of the equation for me. Dylan ahead wants to go for an overtake on Jackson and does so successfully. 13th for him now. And actually somewhat ahead, pitted as well. I don't know who that was, but of course that puts us effectively up into our starting position in 13th. Of course 15th now because the ADRT car's probably leading the way at this moment. But yeah, on this second lap, there's still no DRS or anything, so it's just a bit of driving around until that gets enabled and then get into a bit of a flow, which is difficult actually to do around this track because of all those 90-degree corners. It's all really the same, but it's just cutting off the momentum whenever you start to gain it, and overall it's not very enjoyable to drive on a hot lap. Like on a hot lap, this is a pretty poor track, to be honest. It's our first strike on track limits. Can get 3, of course, until we get a penalty. That shouldn't be too difficult though, because there are barely any areas in this track where you can actually cut corners or extend the track limits. We obviously exploited one in qualifying. exit of turn 1. But now here, into death corner, there's the 2 ADRT cars ahead. I accidentally go down the inside of Jackson, but there is an Alfa Romeo of Mr. BT, who I simply just could not see because of those ADRT cars. And that pretty much puts an end to my race, if you will. It's 2 laps in, and we have pretty significant wing damage. With the competition that this field offers us, as we had last, just true there was no point really. But with the competition that this field offers us, it is pretty much game over at this point. We really have to offer a safety car to bring us back into play. But yeah, for now we're just gonna have to make the pit stop, just take it on our head and carry on, see what can happen. Effectively it's a restart really, because we're gonna pit again for those medium tires and see what happens. Change our front wing. We've got Mr. BT in the pit lane as well, so at least we're not going to be last. We were slightly ahead of him at the time of pitting, but I mean, yeah, down into 19th. Is it going to become 19th actually, because we're past Mr. BT again, but Rex is coming behind, so will he overtake us as well in the Alpine? I believe he might actually. Yeah, here he comes out of the pit lane, and we are down in literally seconds to last place right now, and we have a mountain to climb. Honestly, that's not enough. That's not saying enough to what we have to do now. We're gonna have to climb Mount Everest and beyond. Just now it's a virtual safety car as well to add to all trouble. So could have just come out a tad bit earlier, so we wouldn't have lost that much time. But even still, it didn't really do us too well. We're gonna jump straight to the end of that virtual safety car though, because nothing really happened anyway. And yeah, look at those gaps first of all. So we've got Rex obviously right ahead of us, and then we've got Ibanez 18 seconds ahead, which is really not where I wanted to be. 18 seconds down on 17th place driver. But now Green Flag Racing is back, and we are obviously looking to get past Rex as soon as possible, as he is on the hard compound tires. We have NLR in the pit lane right now, but he profited from that VSC, I do believe, at least the start of it. He's down in 17th place. This Gary actually goes down to 16th himself, because he pitted also for the mediums. Here I thought I just had no straight line speed, but in the end the DRS came into effect, and we're maybe going to look for a move into turn 1 on Rex. Bit half-hearted if I'm completely honest. I should have probably committed to that a little bit more, so he stays ahead for those 2 extra corners. And we're going to have to try and make that overtake into turn 3. Look, we are only about 3/10 behind him now. We have got more grip on the medium tyres, and I believe we should make that overtake stick. Overtake mode is enabled, and we move past the Alpine and into 18th place. He actually does give me a bit of a nudge on the braking, but we still make the corner at least. That is obviously the most important thing out of all that. And that is us into 18th place. And now, well, Rafa's only 5 seconds clear at this point, but yeah, the field is usually faster than me at this point, simply because it was only my second race for NLR. I would say I probably improved a bit since then. Yeah, from now on it was all about damage limitation. You can see we are way behind the field right now, 7 seconds actually to Rafa. And yeah, we will have to do the best that we can to just stay in this race, stay consistent, make little to no mistakes, and just keep it clean really, see what happens, especially on those medium tires. From a league race in the Williams, in the realistic Williams, I also found out that the mediums last pretty much forever, because I did 21 laps. Granted, the mediums weren't fantastic at the end of that race, but they can last. So despite the fact that we started on mediums, we could technically finish it on this set. Yeah, obviously we're not going to be allowed to do that. Now it goes slightly defensive to defend, quote unquote defend from Rex, but I don't think he's going to make a move into turn 1, being 6/10 down. 1 minute 43.4 is the lap time we set. We go quite deep there with some understeer. There you go. Pretty much taking my own words here. And yeah, it's nobody ahead really. We're losing time to Rafa, and we just have to see what happens. We can't do much more than that. In clear air at least, so there's not really any risk coming from anybody around me. Rex is not really looking to attack me because we gapped him quite solidly ahead of this middle sector. So now we're going to jump ahead a few laps. Let's see what lap are we going to go to. I forgot that in the cut I made a few minutes ago. It's lap 8, the end of lap 8. And you can see we are now in 14th place because we passed the 280 RT cars as well as Ibanez, who made a mistake ahead. But
Just the
there's
question
nothing
is how
really worth
accurate are the 10
mentioning
minutes?
because, I mean, it is still 14th place after all. But the main car of interest right now is AK Unleaded for ARC in the Ferrari because he is about 7 seconds clear. Remember, it's lap 9 right now, and I believe you should actually remember that name for the upcoming events. So Jeff actually suggested an alternate strategy for me here that we should pit from mediums to hards, but mediums to softs was actually easily doable, so I changed to that just in case. However, you remember the rain. It is supposed to come at the end of the race, so of course we'll be looking to maybe get those mediums until the rain period starts. Not actually having to make those 2 compounds of tire work before the safety car comes. So now ahead again. We are on, what lap are we on now? It's still lap 9 actually. There's a weird cut in my editing line, I don't know where that is, but yeah. Just looking to make as many inroads as possible while staying consistent. You can see we gapped Rex actually by 6, is that 6 seconds? I believe it is. We've actually gapped him by 6 seconds in just 5 laps, which tells you just how bad the hard tire is in Azerbaijan. I figured it out myself. Actually quite a few times on the last game and on this game, except on this game it's even worse. So now lap 11, we have caught up to AK Unleaded in the Ferrari, and we're now going to be behind him in the castle section, which is obviously not what you want. He's also on the hard compound tires. It's not the best place to catch him, or catch the driver in general really, when you're faster than him. So we take it quite easy through here. Just don't want to risk anything whatsoever in this race, but look at how slow he is on the exit, so we're gonna have to just keep back there a little bit. It's too risky to make a move on this particular straight, and obviously into that corner as well. Figured that out multiple times as well. So I have good experiences with Baku, but I also don't have not all of them are good for sure. So now we're just gonna line up this overtake. We have to make the move anyway, because else we're just gonna lose so much time. It is, yeah. Pretty I don't even know how you would actually describe this, but as you can see, the pace is looking pretty solid, and so now just enable the overtake when the DRS line comes up, and we're just going to sail past the Ferrari and into 13th. But you can see the other Ferrari of Jackson is now in the pit lane, which is going to promote us quietly into 12th place and 1 position closer to the points. I know that now that we're 11 seconds down on the points, but we are only 2 places away as well. And now we have Aurora's Lars Norgvad, just going to call him Lars, ahead, who we have caught up to 7 seconds in 4 laps.
Pretty quickly there.
So I wasn't actually sure what made him so slow. But at the same time, you can see how overcast it got here on lap 15. So it is actually, the rain seems to be quite close. There's a pretty big moment there on the exit. But even still, we are going to look to make the move on this Haas as well and put us into 11th place, which actually, after what this race has been, even though we've still been outside of the points for the entire race, P11 would seem relatively solid, because you have to remember as well, we started the race in 13th, so currently we're up 2, and despite the fact we're down on the points by 11 seconds, anything could happen now if there is a safety car or anything like that in the near future. And of course around the rain as well. The rain, everybody is gonna... There's basically 2 approaches in the rain. Either you take it easy, just want to go to the end. But for now actually we have to interrupt this, because AK Unleaded is out of the race, and he does call out the safety car that we needed on lap 16, just after we had got past to Lars, who've actually also already gapped by 2 seconds.
I'm considering to go for the gamble, but it's not raining yet. Now I'm staying out.
So here's my train of thought.
I really thought it had just started raining. I'll stay out though. Why would I pit? Let's see what tires they're getting. Softs. No, I'm staying out. That's the rain.
Confirmed, we'll receive you at the end of this lap.
Intermediates.
Sorry, we can't.
So you can see some pretty hectic decisions being made here upon the safety car being called out, because it obviously started raining right before the pit entry.
Yes.
And that was pretty much perfect for me, because I know that the tires are not going to be ideal, but
lucky timing,
obviously.
But if that one works, that would be brilliant.
Yeah, there you go. It is basically the best strategic gamble made the best impression of Sebastian Vettel for myself, and yeah, you can see now, end of lap 20. Look at the track. The state of the track now is completely deteriorated, and the safety car is going to come in and give us a few more laps of racing. We're in 11th, and Rafa ahead has a penalty, so currently we are in the points on penalties, which shows you just never give up, to be honest. Never give up. Because right now we are getting that 1 point for NLR, and that would be a point which I would cherish pretty much more than any other point. But for that we still have to finish the race, of course, and that is much easier said than done in these conditions. Keeping relatively solid temperature in the tires, but look, we have ERT Samba in the lead right now, and yeah, he's backing up the field like crazy, which is understandable here in Baku with the about 5,000 kilometers long straight. Of course I know it's just 2.2, but you know, for the effect, for the exaggeration, yeah, it is a massive straight. And now we have restarted this race. We have got a relatively solid reaction. Can't really make anything ahead work, but last Baron can't do anything either. But here we completely outbrake ourselves, almost run into the back of the Red Bull, just barely make turn 1. But here I just decided to shut up because there's already been an incident and we're up 2 places already into the points. P9. Here I actually get a bit of a hit up behind, but there is more contact made. P8, I believe that is a Red Bull car out of the race. And we are into 8th place already. 3 places gained in just 2 corners on this safety car restart. But my teammate NLR Dylan has also had contact and goes completely deep, meaning we will gain another place on him, and that is P7 for us already. And this goes to show just what you should do in these races. Even though you seem to have no chance whatsoever, anything could happen. And we are now up into 7th place with just 5 laps to go. This is the first time in this race that we have been in the points paying positions. This is lap 21. So it just tells you everything. Goes to show that these races are never ever lost. And now just 5 or so laps to go, and still anything could happen. I'm just looking at this point to take it easy, not do anything silly, and just bring home these 6 points, I believe it is right now, for P7, which will become increasingly difficult as the tires get a little worse, because I've actually done completely excessive tire warming, which I only realized after the race, to be honest. But even still, overtaking in the rain is never going to be that easy without DRS or anything like that. And yeah, Jackson behind is 1.5 seconds down. However, I'm also 1.5 seconds down on seat, meaning that no real threat from behind, and I'm also not going to really pose a threat ahead, meaning I can just finish this race pretty much any way I want to. We're going to cross the line soon to start lap 22, leaving us with 5 laps to go in this Azerbaijan Grand Prix, which has gone, well, it's taken every single thing. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about this. It was just a crazy race up until this point. Excel Gary goes deep there into turn 1, but gets away with it. However, that does lose him some time. Teammate is in the pits, so that is NLR Dylan. Yeah, so unfortunate. He was well into the points, but then had this incident in turn 2, which cost him all that time and threw him outside of a points paying position. But even still, never say never. This race is not over yet. You can see how I'm struggling here to keep the car somewhat straight, simply because it's wet conditions. I was relatively comfortable-ish in the drive, but wet conditions against this competitive field, yeah, it was always going to be really, really difficult for us to have any sort of chance to stay with the drivers ahead. But yeah, through the castle section again, already the 22nd time we're heading through here, and most of them have been under racing speed, so it's one of the most stressful corners on this game, to be honest. On the calendar, I would actually argue as well. Behind now we have a yellow flag again, lap 22, and you can see it's another safety car called out, and I mean, this is quite something, because safety cars, yes, they may help races, but my goodness, this is definitely not going to be very, very comfortable for us. However, we cut straight to the end of that safety car because nothing really interesting happened. However, what did happen is look at IRT Seep with a drive-through penalty up in P5, meaning that with just 2 laps to go, we will gain another place, putting us up into P6. And I mean, that is going to be already an absolutely amazing result if we can keep on this. So now on this safety car restart, we actually got a pretty solid reaction now compared to Excel Gary. Gapped Jackson really nicely, so I actually thought about going down the inside of turn 1, but at the same time, bringing it home is probably the better option here. I believe that is contact then made between IRTC and Relentless Wooter ahead, which I'm not sure what that would have done to the front wing of any of these cars. I'm not too sure, to be honest. But lap 25, just 2 laps to go, using some overtake to defend and also maybe to attack ahead, because we're only around 2 tenths behind Excel Gary. Can't quite make the move though, braking really early, which probably might have caught out the drivers behind. Just 2 tenths behind, so I've actually lost 3 tenths on the braking for turn 3. But into this tight, twisty sector 1, we're already past pretty much most of the straights on this track. We're only going to come back to one after the castle section. And yeah, this time we actually go quite deep there into what corner even is that? Turn 4, 5, 6. And so we have to use some overtake down here to not get overtaken by Jackson. Big lock up here into turn 7, 8. Turn 7 it is. But we do keep the position into the castle section just one more time after this. We just have to survive it, to be honest. And that's so much harder said. So much easier said than done, sorry. So that's Evora Lars actually retires from the race, but lap 25 there's not going to be another safety car for that. As we move into the last sector quite soon of this eventful Azerbaijan Grand Prix. One more lap that we still have to survive to get those 6 points for NLR, which are going to become 8 once Sieb makes his drive through penalty, serves that in the pit lane. You can't just have 20 seconds added on to your time after the race, apparently. That's just not a thing with the game. So he'll have to serve that on the final lap, giving him literally no chance whatsoever to even recover from it, which, I mean, in my eyes, that's so unfortunate. But, I mean, there he goes into the pit lane, promoting us into P6. And now Excel Gary is looking to make an overtake on Relentless Wooter, who goes really deep. You'd think it's Lewis Hamilton pressing the brake magic button by accident. We're up to P5. So actually would have been some damage for Wooter. And everything we did in that race was just profiting from incidents, because I wouldn't be able to tell you that if we actually made an overtake ourselves, about 2 maybe. So onto this final straight, on the final lap of this Azerbaijan Grand Prix, gonna come across the line to deploying the maximum of overtake mode and finish this race in P5.
Yes! Ha! P5.
And I mean, listen to that reaction. That was honestly the most amazing moment, and P5. My message to everyone pretty much in the chat to never give up in these kind of races. Nothing is ever going to stop you from having a good result. As here are the results then. Isaac Kush actually wins the race because Samba made a mistake on the final lap. Excel Dylan 3rd, Gary 4th. We had myself in P5. Dylan dropped to 8th, I believe, after some penalties were removed. But still a brilliant race, and I thank you for watching this one.